Hello, and welcome back to the Divest Network's series on the American food system. This is Season 1, Episode 6. Today we're talking about a very challenging topic within Tacoma about environmental pollutants of the area. So a little bit of history. This is related to the Asarco Smelter Plume. The Asarco Smelter facility was located where Point Ruston is now. So if you have visited Tacoma, you live in Tacoma, if you know Point Ruston, where there are a substantial number of multi-level condo facilities, shopping centers, and everything, this is the site of one of the most toxic environmental Superfund sites in America. Now, when we go back in time into the late 1800s, Asarco was a company that had a facility with the goal of extracting copper elements from ore minerals that were shipped in from different mining locations. And this facility had a smokestack that was 571 feet tall. Now, for context, that's a few feet shorter than the Space Needle. So if you can imagine yourself in Seattle, where the Space Needle was pumping out toxic gases with arsenic and lead and other really unknown byproducts of the smelter process, that was blowing out over the entire Puget Sound region, from Puget Sound itself in the sacred waters to the sacred lands that had recently been deforested for logging, profiteering, and the development of the land into housing. Now, this pollution continued for quite a while. 90 some years, this pollution just spewed over the region without any enforcement, before the EPA was a thing, before environmental protections, before any known issues with what was happening. And in the mid-1980s, so about 1984 to 5 is when Asarco closed in Tacoma. And it was by a big push from environmental protection agencies saying, you are polluting the land and we need you to stop. What had happened is the people who lived in Tacoma were poisoned. Toxic air, toxic acid rain when that would happen, and soil that was full of heavy metals, where children were playing in them, where parents were starting to grow gardens, and it became a situation that was far bigger than anyone had anticipated the need to clean it up, and so it was suppressed. It was shoved under the rug with a big broom, and the people who were in power at the time, so the council, the mayor, whatever, did not have the wherewithal to implement healing practices that were really needed. And we are here today in September of 2025, experiencing the downstream consequences of our inactions. And so the city of Tacoma will tout itself and pat itself on the back for the $500 million to $1 billion it's spent on cleaning up the Theophos waterway and redeveloping it to be an attraction for people to come. And what I can tell you is it wasn't enough. And what they did was clean up the downstream effects. They failed to clean up the upstream impacts. So where water, my understanding is that the heavy metals don't continue to infiltrate into the ground. However, the water that rushes through them picks up particulate matters. And that either goes into the groundwater or goes to the surface water, which goes right into the Theophos waterway. Now, how this overlays with the American food system is that our current mayor, Victoria Woodards, has been on a platform since her tenure in office, touting that Tacoma is a food desert. Now, it didn't really resonate with me at the beginning when she started speaking these truths. What's become a reality is that I did not understand that there is not a sovereign, self-sufficient source of food within the entire region of Tacoma. And we are reliant on supermarket stores to ship in food to sustain us, the likes of which have been toxic. See previous videos on the seed oils, the dyes, the sugars, the inorganic produce that we are offered here in Tacoma. It is dismal. I am required to travel all the way across the city to another town adjacent just to get access to clean, pure, whole, and organic foods. And for those in our community who struggle to be able to afford that and rely on places like Fred Meyer's on 72nd, the Safeway on Hilltop, they're closing. Why, you ask? The corporations say it's because of theft or whatever excuse it is of losing money here in Tacoma. And what I'm saying is we're going to start losing people. The people who are here are either not going to stay, or those who are moving here that you're banking on their tax dollars, they're going to get word that the community is just not sustainable to live in. And what's happened is that the system has gotten worse. And a lot of people have fished in the Puget Sound region for a very long time. And what I am seeing in Costco, in other big box mass produced stores, is that the fish have become poisoned with parasites. And parasites feed on heavy metals of which are lining the seabed of the Puget Sound. So it's a recipe for disaster and a recipe for health crisis if we aren't able to take unified action on how to remediate the toxins that were allowed to be spread all over our community. And that's just one toxic industrial allowance that Tacoma has just taken a back seat to because of what? Profit? Tax dollars? Revenue? Someone's paycheck who didn't live in the Tacoma region because they knew how toxic it was? I mean, we are talking about the paper mill, which generated the aroma of Tacoma, which was probably some toxic soup with the smelter, the paper mill, and the rendering plant. I mean, goodness, if you are one of the humans who have lived in Tacoma over the past, I'd say, let's just say 30 years, you've been a part of being impacted. You've experienced toxic air that we're asked to breathe while it's sold to us as just this beautiful environment. Because dang it, it is. It is sacred, holy land that has been misutilized by the toxic masculinity that plagued the city of Tacoma as an organization through the military-industrial complex. The impacts of this affect places down to Fort Lewis, Joint Base Lewis-McChord, DuPont, Lakewood, Steilacoom, all of the highest end residential homes in Tacoma, that people pat themselves on the back, feel so grateful. I have these beautiful views, this beautiful home, and you have toxic land under you that was not remediated, aside from those that did. Yet, when you understand that pollution of the soil doesn't care about property lines, some of our efforts have been futile. And I wish for you to understand that when you're moving to Tacoma, if the call is there for you, or you're here in Tacoma, look up the Asarco Smelter Plume map and understand your potential risk, because it is worth knowing the information before you sign on the dotted line and engage in a outdated system to build your wealth. I wish you the best as we move forward with this, because we have present moment challenges here in Tacoma, like past pollutants and present pollutants of the LNG facility, pumping out, I hope, only steam, yet I don't have access to those records. And so I hope that you, as a viewer, if you find that this resonates with you and you want to be a part of finding the real data, and that's how you feel like you could be a support, reach out to me, because I will talk about this till day's end. This is a part of my soul mission. For my friends and family who are a part of the poisoned youth and the poisoned humans of Tacoma, who just didn't know, or knew and just did the best they could anyway, with the time and the resources they had, this is for you. We are one, and we can heal from any impacts of the situation of the past. And with that, I leave you with my blessings, love, and light, and I hope to see you in the future videos. Bye-bye.